Number 5, which of the following statements are true about the graph of f of x equals negative 3x squared minus 4 as compared to the graph of the parent function g of x? Select all that apply. So we're comparing this graph, this equation, to the parent function of a quadratic, which is just x squared. So g of x is just x squared. So we want to know what's different. And you'll notice that you have a negative, you have a 3, and then you have a minus 4. All three of those do something to the graph. So let's go down the line and see what happens. So the first one, the negative, reflects it over the x-axis. The 3, because it's bigger than 1, makes the graph stretch, or a bit narrow. And the minus 4 makes the graph translate down 4. Now it says select all that apply, which means there's going to be more than one answer. So the first choice says the graph of f of x is stretched by a factor of 3. And this just says of the graph of g of x. So if I take g of x, which is x squared, and I stretch it by a factor of 3, we get the 3x squared. So that is true. It is stretched. The vertex of the graph, f of x, is located at 0, negative 4. Well, remember this has a minus 4, so the graph moved down. It moved down the y-axis, so the y-intercept is going to be 0, negative 4, which is also your vertex. So we can circle that. All right, the next one says that it was stretched by a factor of 1/3. Well, stretch means that it gets narrow, but if we had a 1/3 in front of the x squared, that would actually make it wider. So that contradicts each other. So that's not true. The equation for the axis of symmetry is x equals 0. Remember, the axis of symmetry is the line that cuts it into two equal parts. And so when you look at if you look at your graph, it's something like this, and so this is your axis of symmetry. And remember, we said it was the y-axis, but the equation for that is x equals 0 because it crosses the x-axis at 0. So here's the x-axis. This is crossing it at 0. So that is true. And then the last one says that the graph of f of x is a reflection across the x-axis. So the negative in front means that it's going up. It's going like this. It's flipped over. Okay? And so this is a reflection of your g of x. So your g of x is like here. This is your x squared. And then it moved down. And then it was reflected. Or it was reflected and then moved down. So so that is true. Interesting fact, in 2009, the scientists, when they were trying to search for the Loch Ness Monster, of course they didn't find the Loch Ness Monster, but they did find 100,000 golf balls in the bottom of the lake.